Hi, I'm Lisa Shield. Welcome to Emotionally Naked Dating, finding true love with nothing to hide. So, one of the things I talk about quite a lot is taking personal responsibility, radical responsibility for your part in relationships and in what's going on, right? And I know that a lot of psychology, a lot of therapists, especially couples therapists, talk about how couples are supposed to talk about and work through all these issues and problems together, and our issues line up, and then we mirror them and they mirror us, and and all, right? And what I realized as I was out in the dating world when I was single was that I tried that with my ex-husband. We tried and struggled, and we got nowhere trying to work through these issues and problems together. It really was a constant struggle, and we didn't go to therapy, but I honestly don't know how much therapy would have actually helped. And what I realized as I was out in the dating world and I was taking responsibility for me and for who I was being out in the dating world, I realized that I might as well just take responsibility for my emotional upsets, right? Like, why not just start to work through those things on my own and get through that stuff so that I didn't have to put that on a partner? And I wanted to get rid of all of that stuff, or as much of it as I possibly could, before I got into my new relationship, because I thought to myself, why would I want to carry all of that into this relationship that I've worked so hard to find? I want to walk in free and clear, and I want to have fun, right? And so what I did was I told myself that if somebody said or did something that upset me, I wouldn't react with them. I would say thank you, or thank you for that information, or whatever, but I wouldn't get defensive or upset or angry. And I started to take responsibility for my reactivity. And I just started doing it with everybody, with my dad, who was a huge trigger for me, with my brother. And if you go to a 12-step program, there's this concept of keeping your own side of the street clean. And I love that because, they talk about how it's not our business to tell other people what to do, but it is up to us to keep our side of the street clean. And excuse me, that's a neighbor's dog. But, if I do these out in my garden, that's going to happen. So I would I just decided that I was not going to react. And then I would go in the privacy of my, own home. I would go in a room and I would sit down. And if I needed to cry, if I got upset, whatever happened, I would allow myself to feel my feelings. And then I would sit down and I would start to say, Lisa, what is that triggering in you? What is the belief or the feeling or whatever, but what is it triggering inside of you? What do you need to give yourself? What kind of story are you creating about what this other person might have meant? I had also been doing a lot of work at that time with Don Miguel Ruiz in the Four Agreements work, and I was looking at not taking things personally, and I was also really practicing not making assumptions. And so as I did this, I really practiced these things vigilantly because I had been such a victim in my life. I mean, really, the walking wounded. I had taken everything personally. I was super codependent, and I was very afraid of people. I had little trust, and I couldn't have intimacy because I was so frightened of being attacked by people. And so I just said, I'm going to really keep my side of the street clean, and I am going to not take things personally, and I'm not going to make assumptions. And I started to get dominion, right? Control over my emotions and my reactions. one of the things that was super helpful for me was that when I felt like I wanted to react, I would say to myself, Lisa, how do you want to handle this? How do you want to handle this situation right here, right now? And it was almost like just getting my foot, getting a wedge in there, right? To separate that knee-jerk, that automatic response. So I would insert that question, how do you want to handle this? And that question allowed me to step back and then think about, do I want to get angry? Do I want to be kind? Do I want to sit down and just take some breaths and compose myself? But it caused me to actually get conscious and stop being reactive. So these were tools I used to start to keep my side of the street clean. I asked myself, how do you want to respond to this? I also practiced not taking things personally and not making assumptions. I learned how to ask questions and get clarification and not assume that I knew what people meant. Maybe I was hearing it wrong because it was tapping into one of my insecurities, but it might not have been the way somebody actually meant it. It just might have been the way I was hearing it. And so as I did this, I started to really get control over my emotional world, or I gained emotional intelligence. And I was able, when I met my husband, I stepped into that relationship and I knew that I had really healed so much of my own reactivity. And more than that, I had honed these beautiful skills that allowed me not to lash out or take anything out on him. I also vowed to myself when I got into that relationship that I would not make my husband my therapist, and I would not use him to go, if I had a serious issue or problem that was ongoing, I would go seek help. I would get therapy, I would hire a coach, but I would not put that stuff on my husband. That was not his stuff to deal with. It was not his responsibility to solve my personal problems. It was mine to deal with. And so I got very clear that I would never impose those things on him, and I have not done that. In fact, I don't think he'd let me if I wanted to, but I say that with love. I love that my husband has beautiful boundaries and that he lets me know where they are, and and he does it in such a kind and loving way. So, this is about looking at your life. If you're single, you can start to clean up your side of the street. You don't have to keep taking your emotions out on men. You do not have to keep lashing out and trying to get them to help you fix yourself. That's your job. It's his job to fix himself, and it's your job to fix you. So keep your side of the street clean. Ask yourself, how do I want to handle this situation? Don't make assumptions, and don't take things personally. And I can tell you, you master those few things and you're going to be pretty set.